and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ali, and here I just talk to myself about books, and then someone, maybe you, may or may not watch this at a later date. I thought it would be quite fun to do another book binding video, and this time we will be binding our own fanfic. So let's get started. I'm binding fanfiction in this video for my friend. It's not legal to sell fanfiction, so I'm literally doing this for her as a gift. I have made my own, so I will be binding Manacled. She's the one who got me into reading it and I loved it, so this is kind of like a little thank you. I was going to do this at the table, however I'm currently watching Manifest on TV and binge watching it, so I've decided that I can stay under my warm electric blanket and do these first few steps of the bookbinding process here. So first thing you want to do is you want to find a typeset that you like. This one I found has like pictures in it as well, which is very cute, and you want to print it off on just normal paper, and you want to make sure that it kind of runs. I want to print off just a PDF of the fanfic because it won't be in the right order to be made into a book. As you can see with like normal book pages, they're like made into small booklets, which means the pages printed next to each other won't be actually numerically next to each other. So yeah, that's the first thing I did, was print off all the pages, and what I'm going to be doing is folding each one into a signature, which is like the smaller booklets that make up the book, and then I'm going to be sewing them together. So I'll start off with that and I'll show you what I get up to. Okay, so it's now a few hours later because I got distracted, as usual. Did a little bit of doom scrolling, watched TV, watched some YouTube, watched some random videos. But I have finally managed to fold all of the signatures for the book. So you can see here, they're in smaller booklets, and I've made sure that all the pages run onto each other. The next thing I'm going to do is, because of how they are folded at the moment, they're not kind of like laying flat, so you can see like the middle bits of the booklets stick out. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try and like cut each one so the pages are even, hopefully. I didn't do that for my own copy. I tried to sand it down and it didn't work out very well. So I'm going to try this method and then maybe I'll sand it down afterwards once I've sewn it together. So that's kind of what I'll be doing next. Update, my hands are killing. I have done nearly half the book and my hands hurt, so I have half to go. I honestly feel like I've just finished a workout, but I have now cut down all the pages. I'm definitely going to need to sand them down as well once they're sewn together, because they're all a bit scruffy, but hopefully it will be more even than mine turned out to be. So now that I have all the signatures kind of cut down to size, what I need to do is start poking holes here in the middle so that I can start like sewing them together. And I want to pre-poke the holes because it's easier then to pass the needle through them, but also I can make sure that all of the pages are aligned exactly the same. So I'm going to be measuring it out with a ruler and marking it, and then I'm going to poke each hole. Okay, I've started stitching the signatures together. I will pop down in the description the video that I used to do this because I think it'll be better at explaining it than I am. And yeah, I'm just kind of going backwards and forwards, stitching them together. It's going to take me a little while, but I find it quite therapeutic, so I would highly recommend everyone bind some fanfic at some point. update. It is now night time. But I have finished binding the book together. I have a visitor here. We know. I have finished binding the book together, so I'm probably going to press it for a bit to make sure that it kind of like flattens out before I like start gluing it together, measure it out for the cover, etc. But yeah, here we have it. Oh, move your face. Hello, so I've just got home, but I realised I forgot to like video a few things. Basically I glued the spine and stuck on this cloth to make it kind of like sturdy and all together, and then I put on the two headbands. I went for black because the cover's going to be black, and then what I did was I designed the cover, well, like the stencil, or like, yeah, I designed the cover to then cut out on the Cricut. Sorry, you can probably hear my dog drinking in the background, but whatever. And so this is the design. I got my friend to pick out what she wanted, and I designed it, showed it to her, she's happy with it, and so got it cut out. I will slip in a little clip of the Cricut doing its thing, and at the moment I am taking it apart, so I'll just show you that. Yeah, so here you can see I have pretty much finished, there's dog hairs everywhere, pretty much finished taking it apart using this little tool, which I love. It's like one of those dentist things, but this is probably like my favorite bit in the whole like process for rebinding. I just find it so like therapeutic. So at the moment I'm just doing the bit with the quote, which is like the most fiddly, because the words, the letters, like it doesn't always cut out completely, so sometimes there's like a little bit that's stuck on, and then you just have to be really careful. So I've only done like this little corner here so far, but yeah, really enjoying it, and yeah, we'll see where we get to. I have also measured the board out for the covers. So what I did was I literally measured the book with my trusty ruler. I added like 7mm to the height, and I took away 3mm from the width. And for the spine, I just added like the height of a board, so like pretty much, I think this is like 2mm. Yeah, so like this to the height of the book, and yeah, I'm going to be cutting them out and starting like the gluing process. Okay, so once you've cut those out, which I did using my little wheelie cutter and a ruler, I just find it easier, you will have your 3 pieces, and you want to start gluing them together. So you basically start off with the spine, and then you will glue the 2 bits onto it. Okay, so I ended up gluing this together, and I've just trialed it out onto the book to make sure it fits, which it does. Yay. I do still need to sand down the edges a little bit, but I might do that later, because yeah, I don't know. I haven't yet. Cool, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bookbinding cloth and bind the cover. So, okay, so first thing I'm going to do is obviously measure out how much I need. I like to leave about like an inch or so around the whole thing. So I'm going to cut it about here. Cool, and then you want to stick like the bit that's covered in the paper down first. So then these bits are on the inside, and you want to stick it obviously to like the paper side of the cloth. So I'm just going to cover this in glue and stick it down. Okay, so you can get like proper bookbinding glue, but this one works just as well. So you want like craft PVA glue. I got the water-based one. There is like another version. This is from Hobbycraft. That's like a children's one. I don't think that one's good enough. So I got this one. But yeah, just gonna put glue. I then got some of these like rubber paintbrushes, which I love. I find them so much easier to use and they don't absorb any glue, which is nice. They're also super easy to clean. Yes, I'm just going to put glue all over the spine to start with and nowhere else. And then I'm going to flip it and put it in the center. And I'm just going to glue it down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to score the edges again. So I do have a tool somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So just use any sort of blunt object. The back of this paintbrush works well. You just basically want to score, and then what you want to do is once that's kind of like all flat and stuck down, you want to glue these sides. So I like to put something underneath, not to get any glue on the table and stuff. And yeah, again, just a lot of glue, not too much. You don't want to get it like through the cloth, and it will go through the cloth even though there's the paper backing if you put too much glue. But you just want like a thin layer, and you want everything to be covered, obviously. So yeah, just do that on both sides and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so once you've glued it on, you'll have something like this with like a loose edge around, and you kind of scored the whole thing. And you flip it over, make sure there's no glue where you're putting it on, because you don't want glue on the outside. And then you're going to just trim it a little bit, I think, because at the moment it's a bit long. I think this top bit. This bit's a bit long as well. Okay, so then I've got this little corner tool that you put onto the corner here, and it just helps you cut it out in a way that then you can like fold it. So I'm just gonna mark it and then cut it. I would use my rolly cutter, but I've already cut through my tablecloth, which I'm proud of. But I have, oopsie. So I'm now doing this the old-fashioned way with scissors. Cool, so once you've done that, you'll get something like this. And you want to start gluing the top and the bottom first before you do the sides. So let's do that. Again, we want something with no glue on it to kind of stick underneath. Make sure you don't get glue on either the pages or your table. So you want to kind of glue onto the cloth this time around instead of onto like the cardboard. So you put the glue on the cloth. Just wipe off any excess so it doesn't go splurging anywhere. But make sure you've obviously got it all the way down to the bottom. And then you want to just pick up and fold. You can just do it this way if it doesn't work for you. It never works for me that way. And then you just want to get just want to make sure it's really flat against the edge. And again, you want to score your little bits. And repeat the process around the top, and then I'll show you what to do with the side. Okay, so once you've done that, what you want to do, don't worry if you've got like a little phrase anyway, because you're going to stick the end pages here. You'll see you've got these little corners here where it's like folded. Now if you just fold it over, what it's going to do is it's going to stick out. So what I like to do is just to like press them in a little bit with any sort of tool. So then when you fold them, they kind of like stick inside. And then you want to just put some glue on the sides, fold them in like that as well. Okay, so now you should have your cover like this, and you can start thinking about transferring your fun foiling. But yeah, so let's do that next. Okay, so once you've got your cover and your cutout transferred, so always remember actually, if you're going to be doing a iron-on transfer, that you need to print it off mirrored, so then it cuts it out like kind of backwards, so the bit that you're going to be transferring on will be the right way around. Just to say, this was like the most fiddly thing I've ever done in my entire life, but satisfying. Cool. So you get yourself one of these little heat machines. I think an iron would be too hot, but I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, this one was quite cheap from Amazon. You can get like a Cricut special one, but it was like 3 times the price. So yeah. Obviously make sure you do them in the right order. So you want your back cover on the leftmost panel, your spine, and then your front cover. So let's do that. I like to start with the spine because then it just helps me align the other two so they're all kind of like centered. And also just to make sure the spine's actually in the middle, I like to align it once it's folded. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, you just make sure all the stuff is there and you just kind of start ironing it on. I like to leave it to cool down a little bit because a few times I haven't, and then it hasn't like stuck properly and it just kind of got ruined. And let's start peeling it, make sure it's all stuck down, and if it's not, you just give it another little once over. Okay, so when you've finished, it'll look something like this, or whatever design you've got, and then you're ready to, well, let it cool down, make sure it's nice and settled. You can do the end papers for the book, and then you can glue it all together. Okay, so to cut out your end pages, you just want to measure your book, and then you fold your chosen paper in half and cut it out to that size. So I went for this print. It just look quite nice. And you just want to stick it to the edge here, so literally just a little line of glue here. You'll stick this here, you'll let it dry. You want to do that on both sides. Okay, so you've got your end papers glued on, and I just marked where the top is and the front cover, so I know which way around to glue it. And then I'm just going to glue it down. So what you want to do is you want to put glue on the side that you're wanting to glue down, like directly on the actual book. And you want to stick down the leftover cloth. Again, put something between the pages so you don't get glue everywhere that you don't want it. And you're just going to cover the whole thing. Make sure the cloth is nice and covered. So when I say cloth, I mean this bit here. Make sure you get it right to the edges. And then you want to line it up and stick on your cover. And you do the other side as well. Cool, so when you've glued it all together, you'll have yourself a bound fanfic book. And I really hope my friend likes it. I will still sand down the edges a little bit, I think. They're still a little bit more uneven than I would like, but without an industrial size cutter, I think I've done pretty well.